Hello. This week's video, I'm going to speak to you about Brigham Young and his leadership of the Mormon Church and their expansion to the Western Territories of the United States in the mid-1800s. In 1844, Joseph Smith, who was the leader of the Mormon Church, was killed in a riot in Illinois, and Brigham Young, who was his second in charge, rose to the mantle of leadership at that time. 2 years later, in 1846, he led the remainder of his organization out to the west, seeking an unpopulated area for them to settle because of all the differences and the issues of conflict that they were having with all the residents in the populated areas to the east. They arrived in the Great Basin of the Salt Lake in what became eventually the state of Utah. And here Young decided to establish their community, their colony. Uh, August Bolina, in an article entitled Brigham Young as Entrepreneur in the American Journal of Economics and Sociology, talked about Young's opportunities and his skills as an entrepreneur. He realized that there were going to be a lot of needs for the community out there, and so he was able to establish a very prosperous business climate in the area based on agriculture and goods and uh, education network that they established in these colonies. And eventually he brought a railroad out there. He actually built a railroad, the Great Northern Utah Railroad, to help usher in more business from the outer regions beyond Utah. And but as more of the Gentile businesses came in to the region by the influence of the railroad, he decided to try and protect what was that of the church by establishing a Zion Cooperative Mercantile Institution, and this with the church as the principal stockholder of the company. And their effect on Gentile businesses in the time frame, according to Bolino, was colossal. Sales of the largest Gentile stores declined from $60,000 to $5,000 per month. So, understanding that for the Mormons, the material and spiritual received equal recognition in their efforts of worship. Contrary to the beliefs of other religions, as Bolino says, material was considered as a means to increase spirituality. So all of these people using all of this business, the people had to come from somewhere, right? So colonization and going out and seeking colonists to come to this region was paramount in Young's efforts to grow the church. Hamlin Cannon, in his article, The English Mormons in America, in the American Historical Review, spoke about how such a huge number of new Mormons came from overseas, Europe in particular, and about half of them, of the 85,000 European Mormons that came to America, about half of those came from the British Isles. And during this time frame, uh, because he had people coming to Utah from both the east and west, those who had taken a ship all the way around to California, he established a series of outposts, some leading from California, moving out to Utah, some starting in Nebraska and moving west into Utah. And along these outpost lines, smaller communities were established with further Mormon colonies or further Mormon populations. In continuing, Young wanted to expand the growth of the church into more of the western territories of the U.S., and so he sent out missionaries all over. And during the time frame that he was there, uh, uh, they expanded into multiple states, or what became states out west. In an article called Brigham Young Colonizer, Milton Hunter in the Pacific Historical Review noted that its importance for historians to understand that the force back in the Mormon migration to the basin was religion. Uh, Young did not take personal credit for this. He credited it to God, that is what they were there. He gave all the credit and the glory to God. And so as a result, he wanted to expand the church as much as possible to bring even greater glory to God. And during the 30 years of Young's residence in the basin of Salt Lake, he founded and witnessed the development of multiple communities and colonies in areas as far away as southern Idaho, Arizona, and Nevada, Nebraska, California. And even they sent missionaries all around the world. And he made a comparison of the Mormon expansion in Utah and all around the western United States to that of the Spanish influence. And in less than one third the time of the Mormon presence in these territories compared to that of the Spanish, they had surpassed, their population was almost equal to that of what the Spanish colonists were, and actually more towns and communities. So it was quite an amazing accomplishment to add on to all of the business accomplishments with the expansion of the railroad, the telegraph and construction and Western business practices, all into this region can be credited back to Brigham Young and the efforts and growth of the Mormon Church in the Western Territories in the mid to late 1800s. Thank you, and we'll talk to you next time.